Gladys, how long you been superintendent at Questar?
So I've been superintendent this is my 8th year, and prior to that I was the chief operating officer.
Did you start your career at Questar?
No, I started in 1983 as a teacher in Puerto Rico. There was a shortage of teachers, and for 3 consecutive years, the chair of the English department of my hometown went to my house and asked me if I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach English. I said no. I was in school. I wanted to become a dentist. So year 1, they asked me. I said no. I'm going to school. I want to be a dentist. Year 2, they asked me. I said no. Year 3, they said, would you at least go for an interview? And they hooked me. I did very well in the interview. They offered me a job, and I had the most amazing experience because I was teamed up with master teachers for the first 6 years of my career, and I co-taught. So I was like in an apprenticeship model.
What grades?
So it was all grades. It was K through 6 elementary.
And then when did you leave Puerto Rico to come to the U.S.?
So I worked there for 10 years as a teacher, an English teacher, and a first grade teacher. I had a lot of fun with first grade as well. And then in 1993, I saw a flyer on the wall in the office of my graduate school of education, a program, and it said there was a fellowship for a PhD at UAlbany. I applied. I was on the waiting list. I wasn't accepted immediately. And then I was called last minute because one person couldn't make it, and they offered me the position, and I said yes. They asked me, do you want it? Yes. And I packed everything up and moved, rented my house, and all of those great things.
We share a common thing. My doctorates, my undergraduate and my MBA are both from Albany. My doctorate's Temple, but yeah. Gladys, from a young girl growing up in Puerto Rico to president-elect of the National Association of School Superintendents, AASA, that's a long journey.
It is. It's a long journey, and it's a huge honor for me to represent the superintendents across our great nation.
And you're coming on at a really critical time for multiple reasons. Coming out of COVID, coming out during a time where the nation has been incredibly politically polarized, a time when Dan Domenech, who's been a phenomenal leader for the last 15 years, will be retiring. You're taking over at a really critical time. So, and if we think back and we think about all the issues we faced over the last couple of years, and we think about COVID, we think about the politically polarized nation, we think about the issue of equity that has exploded. But we also think about, as you heard me talk about in my keynote, the explosion in technology that we haven't paid as much attention to. I know at Questar you've paid attention to all of those, and in our other interviews we've talked a lot about the equity issue and some of the other issues. We haven't talked in these interviews about technology. You have done some unbelievable things at Questar in and around technology. Can you share with us what are some of the things you've done in and around technology at Questar?
Sure. So let me talk to you about Tech Valley High School. You know that school. It's a nationally recognized school. Tech Valley High School, we have been using technology for 15 years as their main source of learning. So the student learning system is right on their laptop. Every student comes into that school and receives a laptop. So when COVID hit, I would say that school was ready because every year for the past 12 years before COVID, we had remote learning days in our calendar. So our students were practicing our teachers were practicing. So they made a very easy transition. That's one thing we've been doing with technology at that school and other schools. We also have ensured we offer a lot of career technical education, technical programs, and we work together with our business partners in those fields. And we make sure that we have an advisory group for each of our trades that are working in those fields. And they ensure that our curriculum and our equipment is aligned to the standards of those trades. So our students are learning with the latest equipment and the latest technology in all of those programs. And we just renovated one of our centers. Center dates back to Dr. John Sackett, who you knew, and that center was, completely gutted and renovated. And we came to one of our meetings and I said, where is the electric vehicle module? But it's there.
Ah, good for you. Good for you. Gladys, you have an interesting perspective because as a district superintendent, you're not only over the BOCES, but you take a lead with how many districts you got in your BOCES?
23.
23. So, and you got some pretty small districts, and you got some really affluent middle-class districts.
Everything.
You've got everything. That gives you a unique perspective that individual superintendents don't have who know their district and their community. But now we add on top of that, you've served on the Executive Council for AASA, now as President-elect. You not only see it for those 23 districts in your BOCES, you see it for the nation. Put all that together and tell me, what do you think are our biggest challenges we're going to face over the next 2-3 years in American education that we better figure out how to address?
Well, I think technology is one of them, because technology is moving very quickly, as you know, and changing very quickly, and we need to make sure that we stay on top of it. Because, I feel that COVID pushed our limits in terms of technology. For how many years and decades have we been trying to integrate technology into the classroom, right? And we've done it, we did a good job in some of our schools, as I shared. At Tech Valley High School, we're doing an amazing job. But not everybody was doing it. So, and COVID hit, and guess what? Everybody had to do it. And we figured it out. It wasn't the best at the beginning, right? But we figured it out, and we did the best we could. We had a lot of limitations, like networks. Some students didn't have network, internet capacity. We ensured that every student had a device, even if we had to bring it to their homes. So that's going to be one of the challenges. Another challenge is, coming out of the pandemic, before the pandemic, we all knew that there were rising challenges with mental health. Those have exploded. And, we often hear about the fact that there are monies to support mental health. And now we are facing a shortage of mental health professionals. So the money's may be there, but the pipeline is not.
Yeah.
And, I just brought this up to the attention of our, I asked the question, what are we doing in New York to ensure that that there is a pipeline of mental health professionals? Because recently one of my counties shared with me, here's a grant for mental health support. And she said in the email, I'm sorry we cannot partner with you at this time. We don't have the professionals. So that's going to be we need to put incentives into education into a lot of areas so that we can attract individuals to go into these fields. You know, I didn't land in as an educator, as I shared with you, just by it was by chance. I wanted to be a dentist. So the opportunity arose, I took it, and here I am almost 40 years later. But we need to, I almost feel we need to do a national campaign to attract those young people into careers in education, careers in mental health, social work, all of these, because we have a huge shortage of workers. Mathematics, science.
Special ed.
Special ed, you know, so that's going to be, you know, filling those positions is going to be a huge task. You know, we're creating our own solutions locally. I partnered with the University at Albany to do a pilot with teaching assistants and career technical ed teachers, where we offer them stackable micro-credentials. All the courses are remote, online courses, where they get credits that they can then use to get certified as teachers. So I thought, you know, so when in talking about this pilot, I said, well, let's do it for 12 individuals. And UAlbany said, why don't we put in 20, just in case, to give ourselves a little buffer? And I said, okay. We had a wait list. So I have a cohort of 20 going through this program.
Good for you.
And and they're so happy. They see me, wherever they see me, when I walk around the schools, they say, thank you so much for doing that for us. And I say, thank you for putting your time in for your professional growth. And for being willing to take the next steps to become a certified TA or a teacher, which is where we. So that's going to be another challenge. And then, we have a lot of political issues and a narrative around a lot of things that are really mistaken. So we, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think everybody does, but then it's just taking and given another definition and taken out of context. So I think we're going to have to deal with a lot of those, narratives.
Yeah, I often say, Gladys, we have this tendency in American education to use these broad-stroking terms because we try to have them encompass everything. And so, like critical race theory,
Right.
even SEL.
Right.
And then you get somebody who would like to take us on a little bit. They'll define it
Right.
totally inappropriately,
Right.
but we didn't define it well enough to begin with.
I went to a district this past semester. They wanted me to go speak to the board about DEI and CRT. And I said, okay. I spoke to the superintendent. I prepared. There was a room full of individuals. And I started by defining the terms. What it is and what it is not.
Yeah, I think
And that is so important.
Yeah. When you're talking about the mental health issues, one of the statements I'm making increasingly, and I think all of us working on Learning 2025 are going to have to come to grips with, is I think we have a workforce design problem.
Yeah.
And it's based upon this fact that, as you know, the Commission's first recommendation is we're about the whole learner.
Right.
Yes, we are academic institutions, but we are more than academic institutions. But we are still basically staffed as an academic institution, and everything else is somehow an appendage to that. My hope is we can begin to take a deeper step back and say, what's the whole staffing? What should it look like? And I'm going to give you a parallel. My daughter and son-in-law began a medical practice in 2000. The change in the medical community from 2000 to 2022, they have completely gone through a workforce design change. Because the medical profession used to be basically your MD with a few support staff. And we go back to 2000. 1 in 4 workers in the medical field were MDs. Pre-pandemic, it was 1 in 7. It's projected by 2025 to be 1 in 19. They've gone to a new organizational structure. I'm wondering if we got to do something like that in education.
Well, we have to do something different because we can't find the person. I know that ASU is talking about a different approach in design where you bring teams, right? And they have, I like some of the terms they're using, like success coach. You know, so we have to do something different because we're not finding the professionals, and we have the children around us, and we have to make sure that we give them everything they need to be successful.
Yep.
So I would love to see some changes. So that'll probably be another project I do down the road.
Okay.
Mix it up.
Good. A couple years down. So, Gladys, any other things you'd like to share you think we ought to be thinking about, like to share with potential districts of learning 2025 or with other superintendents? Any other thoughts you just want to share?
Well, I think during the pandemic we learned that we can't be silent, and we can't do this work together alone. We need to collaborate. We need to partner with others. Education 2025 really allows you to come together with other superintendents and teams from across the nation. That's what this summit is all about, you know, and learning from each other, because there's so much to learn when you bring diverse groups together. I'm a believer of collective wisdom. Collective wisdom is greater than individual wisdom any day. So it's important that if you want to expand your horizon as a superintendent, join initiatives like Education 2025.
Great. Gladys, thank you.
Thank
and thanks
you.
for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Great.